This is very exciting. This is an honor to get you set for a weekend around the National Football League, and it is weekend number one. A game on this Friday in Sao Paulo between the Eagles and the Packers. That's Brazil. It's a 2.5-point spread in favor of Philly. We've got 13 games in our first full Sunday slate upcoming in just 48 hours after that. And, of course, Monday Night Football, but we'll get to that next week out in Santa Clara. It is time for our NFL Week 1 Pick 6. He's Joe Raineri. I am Ben Stevens. A reminder, if you have not been with us during Football Fridays in years past, this is what is a part of the Pick 6. 6 wagers that we want to have some fun with as we try to handicap the slate for a weekend. A touchdown score prop, somebody to find Pater. A Moneyline underdog, a team we think keeps it close and wins outright. An under of the weekend that we enjoy. An alternate line, could be a prop, could be a total, could be a spread with a sprinkle of plus money. Our favorite yardage prop of the entirety of the weekend slate. And then we combine forces for a 2-leg 6-point teaser to get things set for your NFL weekend. Joe Raineri, the honor is mine, but the honor is yours to start off our first Pick 6 of the 2024 NFL season with your anytime TD score.
I'm going to go to tonight here, and I'm going to say that welcome to your new team here in Mr. Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles at minus 125. I mean, listen, the tush push aside here, Ben, I do think they are going to rely on Barkley. Again, we talked about it earlier, some of the new pieces offensively on the offensive line, namely the center spot there with Kelsey gone. I do not think this is going to be a hurry up, we're going to air it out, and we're going to have Jalen Hurts step back there and throw the ball 50 times in this game. I think Barkley's going to be a big featured part of this. Inside the goal line, I'd say inside the 10-yard line here, I do think he's viable not only catching the ball, but also running the ball out of the backfield. I think it's an easy one.
You know, Raineri, what I'm so fascinated to see is a couple of the anytime touchdown props that where they are listed right now entering week 1 of the season, where they might be week 4, week 7, week 13, and beyond. Tom Vecchio brought that point up yesterday as he was handicapping the season debut in Arrowhead. Xavier Worthy was plus 175 to find Pater. Of course, he scored twice on only 3 total touches, 2 grabs and a rushing attempt. I don't think we're going to see plus 175 on Xavier Worthy. And if Saquon Barkley is the guy for this Philly offense that we all expect him to be, that Kellen Moore will hope to utilize him as Philly's new play caller, I'm not sure minus 125 is going to be there much longer either. It's my hope and my thought for my touchdown score, minus 105 on Bijan Robinson. Again, I said it when we were breaking down the game against the Steelers. I'm going to look at this Falcons team often throughout the regular season, expecting them to be one of the highest scoring offensive teams in the league, led by Kirk Cousins, and keep an eye on their totals, team totals, game totals between the two sides, and I think Bijan Robinson has a lot to say in that. Only 4 touchdowns last year under Arthur Smith, much to the chagrin of many of his fantasy owners in his rookie season. I do not expect that to be the same under Zach Robinson's system. It's West Coast. It's the likes of Sean McVay. We've seen Kyron Williams explode, also from the same tree of Kyle Shanahan. And Christian McCaffrey can't not score, it seems, each and every game with the 49ers. I do think we will see some points from Atlanta against Pittsburgh on Sunday, and I think Bijan Robinson finds the end zone.
I love that as well, Ben. I think this is a spot for Atlanta, who, don't forget, it was playoffs or bust last year. But let's be realistic here, Ben. That didn't work out, and I do think the expectations again this year with Raheem Morris, I think they live up to him here. I like Atlanta a lot this season.
The Falcons minus 140 as the odds-on favorite to win the NFC South entering the first year with Raheem Morris. Arthur Smith heads back to the ATL on Sunday. Now is the OC for the Steelers. In all 3 years as the Falcons head coach, Atlanta was just 7-10 under Smith. All right, now a Moneyline underdog that we think has the opportunity to win outright to start off week number 1. Raineri, what gets your attention?
Yeah, go big or go home here, Ben. And yep, you heard it here first. The Arizona Cardinals are going into Orchard Park and they're winning this game here. I'll tell you that right now. And again, we mentioned it earlier, if this was week 5 and Arizona's got to fly across country to Orchard Park, I'd have an issue. But since this is right out of the gate and their next 3 games are at home, I love Gannon. I love Arizona this year. I think the hype is real. I loved, more importantly, the draft. They addressed their issues in the secondary on the defensive side of the ball, while Buffalo is going to look totally different, guys. No more Micah Hyde in the backfield or Jordan Poyer in the defensive back or Tre'Davious White. Matt Milano, again, hurt. That is the heart and soul of that defense. I think they're going to have a terrible time trying to isolate Murray. I think he's going to have his way. On the flip side there, I think Gannon and company are going to have an opportunity to keep this game close late and then do the unthinkable, kick a field goal to win it.
So when you look at this Cardinals team, right, 7.5 is the win total now for Arizona, for a team that had the lowest win total entering last year. Part of that was the Kyler Murray injury. Part of that was a deteriorated roster. Part of that was a rookie head coach in Jonathan Gannon. It was 4.5, and the Cards did stay under that number. But in the final 8 games that Kyler Murray started, 3 of the 4 victories came with Kyler at the helm. And, Joe, it's one of the things that you can look at for a team when you expect year-over-year improvement. Arizona was booked as a dog all 17 games last season. They were 9-8 against the spread. Competitive, keeping games closer than the odds makers expected. So now you keep those close games that you came out on the losing end ever so slightly and flip a few to some wins. That's how Arizona gets to 7-8, maybe even a winning record this season. I completely agree. I think the Cardinals will be great. I think Kyler Murray is going to have a solid year, and Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be the benefactor of all of that. I said all those nice things about Arizona being a dog 17 times last year and covering in 9 of those games to highlight why I like the Cardinals to improve year over year. I'm almost going to eat my words as I give you my Moneyline underdog pick. It's the Carolina Panthers at plus 168. Ben, you just gave all these outstanding reasons why Arizona is a good team to bet as a dog, but Carolina was atrocious last year. 4-11-2 against the number as a dog all 17 games. They had the highest under percentage in the National Football League, 12 of 17, because they were tied for the worst scoring offense alongside New England in Bryce Young's rookie year. I think that's going to change right away under Dave Canales. And I think the Panthers get a victory on Sunday in New Orleans. I am not overly optimistic about this Saints team. Carolina's last win last year of their 2 came against an NFC South foe in Atlanta. That's where I think Carolina sees the biggest improvement, taking advantage of a poor NFC South en route to winning at least 6 games and going over their win total this season. It starts, in my estimation, Joe, on the first Sunday in New Orleans.
Yeah, listen, it can't. We said it with the Giants. We'll say it with Carolina. It can't get much worse. You can only go up from here, Ben. And I do like the coaching hire. If he's as good a quarterback whisperer as we think, the kid will make some strides this year.
He has to, right? You have to see return on your investment for the number 1 overall pick, thrust into a tough situation. Needless to say, last year, Frank Reich fired in the middle of the year. Not sure I believe in David Tepper as the owner in Charlotte in a hostile environment and what it means for the overall outlook for Dave Canales as the head coach. But I do think it leads to more wins this year for Carolina. The Giants were 6-11, so it could get worse. The only way it gets worse for the Panthers is if they are winless or win only 1 game. Don't expect that to be the case. More from our NFL Week 1 Pick 6 up next. The Pick 6 rolls on for NFL Week number 1. The entirety of this weekend slate that truly starts tonight, a Friday night in Sao Paulo between the Eagles and the Packers. Again, the Pick 6, our favorite anytime touchdown score, a Moneyline underdog that we think can pull the upset. We gave you both of those. Now we move on to the under, the alt line, our favorite yardage prop of the weekend. And we combine forces once again to round things out for a 2-leg, 6-point teaser. Your favorite under of the Sunday slate, Joe Raineri, is where?
Where, if it ain't broke, Ben, do not fix it. And any time we get Pittsburgh, who tends to play very conservatively away from home, and the Steelers are now 50, 20, and 2 to the under in all regular season road games in the last 9 years, I'm leaning to the under here. While, yes, I think the Falcons, their defense, I think, is much improved with some of the additions. They bring in safety Justin Simmons in. They brought in Matthew Judon from New England. I think, yes, the Falcons' defense is going to be elevated with Raheem Morris. I also think Pittsburgh's defense is going to be the best part of that team. I don't see how we get over this number. It's under for me.
You know, I'm not going to call this quite a referendum game for either side, but a lot of changing parts, of course, this offseason. We expect Russell Wilson to start week number 1, but a limited participant at practice yesterday in Pittsburgh has some a little bit cautious, shall we say. But there's a new offensive coordinator in Arthur Smith for a Pittsburgh team that has struggled to put up points despite winning records the last few years, even following Ben Roethlisberger. The final few years of Big Ben's tenure, his last 2, the Steelers were a bottom 10 scoring offense. It's where they've been the 2 years following Big Ben's departure and retirement as well. Does that change this year under Arthur Smith? We shall see. We know the consistent standard that Pittsburgh is. Atlanta now with Kirk Cousins and Drake London and Kyle Pitts and Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier and Darnell Mooney, and the list goes on with a new offensive coordinator in Zach Robinson, expected by many, including myself, to be one of the highest scoring offenses in the National Football League this year. What does it mean for the total? We'll see if it's a little bit emblematic, shall we say, for the rest of this season for both teams. I go Raiders, Chargers under 40.5. The Raiders under in 11 of 17 games. The Bolts tied for the highest under percentage in the NFL alongside Carolina last year. 12 games under in 17 total ones. And the main reason, Raineri, one of the reasons, by the way, I'm a little bit skeptical of drafting Justin Herbert in a fantasy league or betting on his season-long props. Jim Harbaugh hired Greg Roman, who was his offensive coordinator in San Francisco and was the OC for John, Jim's brother in Baltimore, for many years up until a season ago. And they came in right away and said, you know what's going to help Justin Herbert the most? Establishing the run, running the darn ball. It's what Jim Harbaugh did at Michigan. It's what I expect the Chargers to do right away. I think we see some slower-paced offenses out of the Bolts. And the wide receivers that Justin Herbert had known the entirety of his NFL career, Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, are gone. I think the Chargers are a run-first team, slow down the pace. 40.5, I stay under even of a minimal total in Los Angeles on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, too. I know a lot of guys, Ben, that are looking early in this season to fade the Chargers a lot. A lot of questions there. Never an easy thing. Now, eventually, I think Harbaugh will figure it out, but I'm kind of with you. I think it's kind of a wait-and-see approach with them. I would not be expecting a ton of high-scoring Charger games anytime soon.
So now let's go alt line here in our pick 6. It can be a passing, it could be a yardage prop, it could be a total, it could be a spread. Where do you think, Raineri, we might see the market be a little bit off and we can sprinkle to find some plus money value?
Listen, I don't think the total is high enough here, and I am okay. If you got it at 51 like I did, the over in the Rams and the Lions, great. It's been ticking up, but I don't have a problem getting this thing up to 53, Ben, at a great plus price. Why? Well, we just saw this game, didn't we, last year? And I think the total was, 55, somewhere in that ballpark there? 53.5, I think that total was. And it's not going to be enough. Listen, we know the Rams defense, no more Aaron there. So you know that defense is going to take a little bit of a step back. We know the Lions, who have brought back the entire offensive line and all the weapons, they are going to keep scoring no matter what. McVay and company had no problem scoring on this team last year with that defense. I don't think they're going to have a problem scoring again this year. I think this is going to be an old-fashioned shootout here where, don't be shocked, if the first person to 30 wins this game. It's got 30-25 written all over it as far as I'm concerned. So that's the way I'm going to go. Give me as many points as you want in the alt market. It's worth it. This is going to be the highest scoring game of the weekend.
52.5 is that total for the Rams and the Lions on Sunday night. Joe, we'll quickly go here to my alt line of the weekend. I was going to make it the alt line all off season long, into camp, into preseason, so I decided I would stick with it, although I'm a little bit more scared of it. 6.5 in favor of the Vikings to beat the Giants by at least a touchdown at plus 200. It's a virtual pick 'em on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The Vikes, a slight road favorite in MetLife against the G-Men. Minus 118 on the money line. Why do I think the Vikings can win by a touchdown? Is it because I believe in Sam Darnold? Not necessarily. I think he'll be the beneficiary of a Kevin O'Connell system and having Justin Jefferson. But a couple of injuries along that Vikings team. We still, of course, have T.J. Hawkinson on the PUP list. Don't love that for Minnesota. But I think the defense will improve in year number 2 with the same DC and a good defensive mind, regardless of how he treats his former quarterbacks. That's Brian Flores. And I don't know what the Giants are going to be this year. I think it's going to be a really bad season for Big Blue. I think the Vikings win this game and win it comfortably. Give me Minnesota minus 6.5 at plus 200. Raineri, we're coming up on the break, so did just want to share this breaking news quickly. Jalen Ramsey, once again, the highest paid corner in the history of the NFL, agreeing to a 3-year extension with the Dolphins worth more than $24 million per year. We'll talk more around the Pick 6 up next. Let's round out the Pick 6 in our final segment of this first full football Friday of the 2024 NFL season. He's Joe Raineri. I am Ben Stevens, our favorite yardage prop. And then we combine forces for a 2-leg, 6-point teaser for your Sunday slate. Raineri, when you're looking at yards and somebody to go either over or under on Sunday, where do you go first?
I'm going to look here in my backyard and go to Miami and look at Tua's passing yards in this game. And we all know, listen, early in the season, 80 degrees, hot, humid, right? Well, that's where they have thrived here. And McDaniel loves to throw the ball, doesn't he? He just loves to throw it. And we saw them average, I think Tua led the NFL, 13.2 yards of completion, over 8 yards an attempt, 292 passing yards a game last year. Nothing is going to change here, folks. Nothing. They're going to come out throwing the ball all over the place. I expect a 300-yard performance out of them. So anything under 300 yards is an overplay with Tua for me.
When you look at Tua Tagovailoa, 4,624 passing yards last year to lead the National Football League. Now the 4th highest paid quarterback in NFL history, making more than $53 million per year. And to Raineri's point, look at the start of 2023 for this Dolphins team. Tua threw for more than 400 yards in the opener against the Chargers, then 249 the week after, and then he went on a run where he would have been over this number comfortably with at least 282 yards in the next 3 consecutive games, including 309 in the 70-point outing against the Denver Broncos. And that game, of course, was the home opener in South Florida for Miami. I also go to Florida, but to Tampa, the Buccaneers playing host to the Washington Commanders. I think we see some points in this game. I actually think it's going to be a really good matchup. 3.5-point spread in favor of the Buccaneers. Raineri, you mentioned it in terms of Tua. Not only he and the Dolphins' offense prolific, but last year, the Jaguars were not the best team defending the pass. Bottom 10 in terms of passing defense around the National Football League, giving up nearly 240 yards per game. The worst secondary in football, more than 262 yards given up. That's the Commanders. Now, I think it will be better under Dan Quinn. In fact, there was no doubt in my mind it will be better under Dan Quinn, but not enough against Baker Mayfield, and not just Baker, but his top target in Mike Evans. 10 years in the NFL, all 10 years with 1,000 receiving yards for Mike Evans, going over this number of 67.5 8 times in regular season games a year ago. I think it starts well for Tampa and Mike Evans on Sunday, over 67.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I love that too. I do think it's one of my favorite overs of the week. It was 41.5. It's creeped up now a little bit to 42, 42 and a half. And yeah, listen, I think Washington's defense is going to be better as the season progresses, but it's going to take some time with all those new players and young players they have in that secondary now.
All right, now we combine forces to round out the pick six, a 2-leg, 6-point teaser. Raineri, what's your leg first?
I'm going to go with Dallas getting 2.5 points right now on the road against the Browns. I'm going to tease them up to 8.5, Ben. Listen, there is too much variance in depending on Deshaun Watson to show up and show out here. I'm going to get that we're going to get much of what we got last year, and I think any maturation is going to happen week 4, week 5, week 6. It ain't going to happen in game 1. I think Dallas is a live dog here, but if you want to get me up and over a touchdown here in a teaser spot, I'm good to go.
Yep, Joe, I'm looking at the other way around for making a 8.5-point spread down through those two key numbers to a 2.5-point spread for the Bengals. Cincy, an 8.5-point favorite against the Patriots at home. I think they can cover that number by itself. But we'll take it through 7 through 3 like Joe did, but just in the reverse. Cincy laying only 2.5 under a field goal against who I believe is going to be by far the worst team in the National Football League this year in the Patriots. That's how you do the first Football Friday of week number 1 of this NFL season. Week number 2, Saturday slate in college football as well. You'll see Raineri on Saturday and Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern time on In-Game Live Game Day. Joe, I'll see you tomorrow as well.
Well, can't wait here, Ben. It's going to be a loaded weekend. Definitely want to hang out with us here at SportsGrid for sure.
This is the best time of the year. I will see you all 9 a.m. Eastern time for week number 2 in the Saturday slate in college football on College Football Today. The early line turns on Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. Have a great weekend.